Hey everyone, Mary here, your holistic recovery coach. I am here to talk about a recovery concept today called progress, not perfection. As always, I seek to come on here and share information, education, resources to support your personal recovery, healing, and personal growth. When I talk about the recovery concepts, this one in particular certainly does not just apply to people in the addiction recovery communities, but it seems to stem from there, or at least it's a common motto or phrase that you hear in the addiction recovery communities. People will remind you, progress, not perfection. What does that really mean? Well, really it means striving towards making progress in your own spiritual or personal growth, character building, but not trying to be perfect. However, it's a little bit tricky. If you look at the literature from the original 12-step group, Alcoholics Anonymous, they have 12 and 12. They call it the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, one of the primary literature that's used in meetings and things like that. And it talks about this concept in step 6, which is about getting rid of our character defects, those patterns of behavior that we keep hanging on to that don't really serve us and are not coming from our highest place or our highest selves. But it talks about the idea of striving towards ideals. Perfection really is an ideal. Doing anything perfectly is the ideal, right? Is the ultimate. Is it possible? In most regards, no. In 12-step literature, they say that the only step of the 12 steps that can be done with absolute perfection is step 1, which is about admitting powerless over alcohol, or you could think of it as the way that you practice that step, not picking up a drink a day at a time, or a drug, or whatever, whatever your substance or behavior, or whatever your area of addiction is. Other than that, the rest of the steps are about ideals. So it's about striving towards an ideal. What does that mean? Well, if we're striving towards an ideal, and let's say we're, somewhere else along the journey towards that ideal, we'll always be making progress because we're trying to get closer to that goal. So it's one of those things that can be a little bit confusing, because where you talk about that step 6 and 7, or just in life in general, if you're trying to reach some type of ideal, it's actually about strive towards perfection. If you do, then you're never done. You're always improving, right? So while you're striving towards perfection, meaning going for that ideal, we want to be gentle with ourselves and focus on the progress that we're making. So we continue to make progress. We continue to make forward progress on those goals or those ideals, that character building, those things that we're striving towards doing well, really well. And be okay with the fact that we're probably never going to do it perfectly, whatever it is. But if we keep aiming towards that perfect ideal, it will keep us working on ourselves forever, right? It's kind of like one of those little tricks, a day at a time, just for today. People don't say, I'm going to not drink the rest of my life. They say, I'm just going to not drink today, because that's more manageable. And that's kind of like progress, not perfection. Okay, I'm just for today, I'm going to commit to this degree of progress. And of course, if you keep doing it over a long period of time, you're going to see bigger results, right? In that example, a long time not drinking, or whatever the thing that you're abstaining from, or whatever behavior you're changing. So again, it's about striving towards an ideal. But if we talk about perfectionism, that need for things to be perfect in our life, that's really about controlling the outcome of something. And that's really coming from a place of fear, right? Why is that? Or why do I say that? Because if you feel like you have to do something perfect, and I'm talking about, it could be anything from a task to a conversation with someone, your work, anything, really, any task or project or situation or relationship that you're working on. If you feel like everything always has to be perfect, probably setting yourself up for failure, right? First of all, or stagnancy, paralysis, right? So if I said, I'm not going to record a video until it's just perfect, if I scripted something, first of all, it wouldn't end up being authentic. Okay. You certainly have to deal with me sometimes saying, or thinking for a moment about what else I want to say, but it's not, I don't have some teleprompter or a script that I'm reading, which wouldn't be engaging or authentic. Also, if I waited till I had the perfect lighting or the perfect weather, the perfect day, the perfect outfit, right now, we're in the middle of the coronavirus outbreak pandemic where people are staying at home. And so, I haven't had my hair done in months. Before this all started, I'm not big on makeup anyway. So I'm not one of those YouTubers that's going to have the perfect lighting and be all made up and get everything just right. I'd rather just put out authentic content and have the faith, the trust that it will reach whoever it's meant to reach, that it will benefit whoever it's meant to benefit, and that having all those other little details perfect would actually only make me never even record a video, right? And so you wouldn't be watching this right now if I were coming from a place of perfectionism today. So that involves a degree of letting go, right? Letting go of control, trying to control the outcome, trying to make something be exactly the way we want it. It's okay to want to do something, with high integrity and high quality, but we certainly don't want to. See, I'm silencing my laptop now because progress, not perfection. I didn't perfectly mute that before. So again, I lost my train of thought, but it's about being authentic and doing the best we can and letting go of trying to do things perfectly. So people right now are stuck at home. Maybe they're expected to work from home and somehow produce the same quality of work, programs that they run or people that they oversee, or just tasks that they're supposed to somehow now learn how to do online. And people are just doing the best they can. And so really, let's look at, instead of saying, gosh, I haven't figured out how to perfectly teach my virtual class yet, if you're a teacher, listen, look at what progress you've made. If you've done something online for the first time when you're used to classroom teaching, you're making progress. Okay, we were all thrown into this scenario unexpectedly, pretty much, and doing the best we can. So again, focusing on progress keeps us in a positive mindset. And helps us to continue to move forward, still striving towards that ideal, perfection, but not perfectionism, not operating from a place of perfectionism, which is really about, again, really coming from a fear perspective. What's the fear behind perfectionism? Probably the fear of not being good enough. If I'm not perfect, that means it's not going to be good enough, or people aren't going to like me, or whatever the situation that applies to. Think about that. If you're coming from a place of perfectionism, think, why do I feel like this has to be perfect? If it's not perfect, then what will happen? What am I afraid? What am I trying to avoid happening if it's not perfect? And usually it's, one of these common human limiting beliefs, or core fears rather, that's like, I'm not good enough. If it's not good enough, that means I'm not good enough. That means maybe I'm not lovable. Like, these are those core human fears. And when we can identify those, they're usually operating on more of a subconscious level. But when we can bring that up into consciousness and really look at it and, and hold it up to the light, so to speak, then we can say, is that really true? Is that really something I need to be afraid of? No, I'm lovable. No, I'm good enough. And sound like Stuart Smalley, and people like me. If you remember that old Saturday Night Live episode. So really, it's about doing the best we can, letting go of the need to control, and knowing that if we come from a place of faith, and when I say faith, I don't necessarily mean religion, I don't necessarily mean your higher power, if you have one or don't have one. I mean coming from a place of trust, that in terms of spirituality, that coming from the spirit of believing, of choosing to believe that you're doing the best you can, that there's good in the world, and that if you want to do your best, that you're able to do that, and just by showing up and doing the best you can, that it's good enough. That whatever your unique gifts and talents are in this world, if you show up and just try, again, progress, not perfection, and do your best just today at them, not perfect, but just your best, just show up and as you are and do what you can, that it will be enough, and that you'll fulfill whatever you're meant to fulfill that day and forward. So I think that's just about everything I wanted to say about progress, not perfection. I'd love to hear what you all think about it, whether you're in the addiction recovery community or just any individual out there checking out these videos from the standpoint of curiosity or self-growth. It's a great principle to apply to your life. Focus on your progress today, give yourself a pat on the back, and just keep showing up and striving towards those ideals, which reminds me of a poster I had as a kid that was this Nike poster with just this anonymous basketball player that was practicing in a dimly lit, not fancy gym by themselves, shooting hoops, after hours. And the tagline from Nike was, "There is no finish line." And I love that because to me, it symbolizes this, I believe, that it's just, we always can keep growing and expanding as individuals and hopefully collectively. And maybe that's what's going on right now in the world. But that's enough out of me on this topic. Thank you in advance for please liking this video if you found it helpful, commenting below. Let me know what your thoughts on this progress, not perfection topic, or any questions, or if you have suggestions for future recovery concepts or other topics you'd like me to cover in these video series. And please share it with anyone that you think it might help today. Thanks a lot. See you next time.